If everybody has had a chance and maybe seen a little of the battle that's been going on between Governor Gina Raimondo and the media here in Rhode Island over the past couple days, wanted to bring in an expert, one of the leading PR folks, David Preston. David, come on out.
Hey, Josh. Great.
David, good to
Thanks
see you.
for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
David runs one of the bigger PR firms, gets to do crisis communications, political communications, work for some trade organizations, the defense industry, Quonset. New Harbor is the name of your firm.
Yep.
And you were press secretary to Bruce Sunland. Bruce Sunland had his interesting days with the media, but it's a very different media today.
Totally different media. Back in the day, no internet. And so we had to work with the Journal, we had to work with the TV stations and the radio stations. No Josh Fenton, no local.
Yep.
And it was very, very different. And the dynamic has certainly changed significantly. And I would argue that for communications people, it has increased the workload and the burden because there's a lot more platforms that you have to pay attention to.
There's a lot more platforms, the time and speed. I think that's probably, we see asking PR folks to respond to things. Right. We demand immediate. Right. I mean,
right.
we were covering a story the other day relative to St. Joseph's Pension Fund. We were asking some questions of Charter Care, their parent companies in California. We're asking them at 7, 8 o'clock at night. They're hitting people in California 3 hours earlier. And 11 o'clock needed to go in the next day's story.
Right.
So speed happens. So let me. Here's what I know. Governor Raimondo was on a panel over at Brown University on Tuesday, I believe, and she took pretty strong swipes, specifically at the Providence Journal, citing that they are of a diminished size and a diminished newsroom, and Channel 10. On the structure of a Q&A she does once a week. Channel 10, of course, under some fire for being a Sinclair station and some mandated, what's perceived to be conservative commentary that's included in their news cycle. Within minutes, hours, the Providence Journal fired back. How does a governor, after a situation like this, rebuild the relationship between the two?
So what you saw yesterday was, and it often doesn't happen in public, it often happens behind the scenes, and I know that you interact in your journalists with the governor's staff and the staff of over-electeds every day. And so it rarely becomes as public as that, but there is a friction between two competing entities, the media and an elected official. It probably goes back to the ancient Greeks.
Did the ancient Greeks have press secretaries?
They might have. They might have.
Did they call them Spocks or whatever they call them now?
Something like that, right? Yeah. So,
spokesman.
It goes back, as long as you've got elected officials or a government and you've got a free media, this kind of friction where you've got two entities with competing interests are going to, every once in a while, you're going to see it in public. One of the things, though, that's really important, and I think that the governor's statement at the end of the day reflected that, is they both know that they need each other. So the governor needs the media to help deliver the information to the citizens. You need elected officials in order to help you present accurate information in context to your readers, who, by the way, are also citizens. So it's a friction that's timeless. It's what you're going to see when you've got two entities with competing interests. They do have common interests, but they are competing interests. And so it's an ebb and flow, back and forth, not unlike in a healthy society, Democrats and Republicans, executive branch, legislative branch, House and Senate at the end of the assembly session. You're going to see that.
Right.
And so the thing that I think everybody realizes, the governor realizes, that
does the governor get some points in the game? Because now she's put the media on notice for the first time ever, where she's swiped a couple heads that, you know what, I will fire back at you guys. She gave an apology by the end of day yesterday, Wednesday, but does she now put some people on notice that if you step out, I might take some action back, which she's never ever done before? Publicly.
It is a balance that, like I say, it ebbs and flows every day. And so for the governor to say, look, we're in the arena. It's a TV show. You've
Yeah.
heard of. They have the best
Right.
guests.
They're the best.
And so she's in the arena, but you're in the arena.
Yeah.
The media is in the arena. And so when you're in the arena, there is some give and take. It's like hockey. You're going to get checked if you're on the ice.
Was it a little Trump-esque fake news, calling out the media?
I think it was completely different from that. But I'm
Was it
glad
planned?
you raised that. I don't know if it was planned or not.
Was it
certainly-
frustration?
It was a window. It was a window into candor.
Which you don't usually see that side of Gina Raimondo. Now, I'll say we've had her on live a couple times. In this environment, for some reason, I think she does very well. She smiles. She's relaxed as can be. It's usually with, I think both times it's been with Kate. And she just gets into the conversation. Most of the times we see her, she's not particularly relaxed. And I always say, if you're enjoying the job, smile a little. We don't see her smile. Gina Raimondo is not a big smiler.
That's a great point, Josh. I got to tell you, hardly a week goes by where some Rhode Islander says to me, I just met the governor for the first time, and she is absolutely nothing
Yeah, right.
like I thought that she was.
Yeah, right.
She's the person that you described,
Right.
a warm person, the engaged, smiling, laughing sense of humor,
Right.
really smart. And somehow or other, through the lens of the media, that doesn't come out. So that's a great point. So I think we'll go back now to where we were before with that healthy friction that you get in a civil society. And they'll be push and pull, and the relationship will ebb and flow. And, they'll get where they need to get.
For the media standpoint, it's probably the first time. Mattiello did it last year. He kind of slugged at, about a year ago,
Yeah.
slugged at the media pretty hard, punched a couple folks in the nose. Is that, the media doesn't like it, because the media's used to, listen, we're the upstarts. We get punched in the nose all the time.
You punch back pretty good.
Yeah, we've learned how to counterpunch. But, is it a little bit, politicians are used to it every day. I mean, Gina Raimondo, she could take babies out of a burning building and somebody would criticize that she should have stopped the fire before it even took place. Does it give her a little bit of leverage, though, in the game that folks now know? It's not just David Ortiz or Rhea yelling back. It's now, hey, the governor might take you to task.
So I think that the good journalists, what do the good journalists do? They don't just present the facts, they present the context and the perspective.
Right.
And so what that requires is a constant, almost hourly reassessment of what's the context, what's the flow of the day, and I know you guys do that all the time. And so...
And things literally can change in the course of a day.
Right.
Of
How
how a discussion is taking place about an issue can transform.
Right. So I think that this presentation by the governor, this minute 40 out of a 51-minute interview,
Right.
by the way, talking about perspective
Yeah,
and
that's right.
context, I think that this is another piece of how the media will assess the context and the perspective and the flow as they go about their jobs. An important point that I would say about them going about their jobs. Look, in this society, the media's key role is as a watchdog. And so I don't know how you do that watchdog role without skewing slightly to the glass half full. I think I don't know how you avoid that. And Bruce Sullivan used to say when he would get a story that he didn't like, which happened quite often, he would say, at the end he'd catch his breath and he'd vent, and then he'd say, part of the package.
Yeah, that's right.
And it is part of the package. So it's a part of the package, that kind of coverage.
But it's also...
But for the governor to push back, for you guys in the arena,
Yeah.
also part of the package as well.
So John Chafee, who I work
Right,
for,
right.
before
John.
every press conference, when the media was starting to come and show up, he would turn and say, oxygen, right? Because without the media, you really can't get the message out. Let me just go to a fine point, though. The one thing that the governor, despite being maybe the most educated woman for 46 years old in the United States of America, might have the best resume of any 46-year-old in the country. As good as it gets, right? has a problem connecting to people. She's got, it's no secret, lots of polls have been out, public and private, negatives in the 40s, in the danger zone for re-election. Does this help her or hurt her? Does it come across as she's thin-skinned, or does it come across as, you know what, she's pretty tough, she'll even take on the media?
I think, what I noticed yesterday on social media was that the people who liked the governor leapt to her defense. The people who didn't like the governor,
Yeah, right.
they did what they're going to do, whether the governor rescued babies from a burning building or not.
Right.
And so I don't know that it helps her or hurts her. I doubt that it moves the needle. I will say, though, I was heartened to see local Republicans, including my upstairs neighbor at Naval Square, Brandon Bell, leap to the defense of the local media. And so it's good to know that they don't share the president's view of the media. I was very heartened by that.
I will not make any comment about the thickness of the skin of Brandon Bell, but let's put it this way.
Well, he's a good neighbor.
You can see through it. It is translucent. But let me also go to, where's the governor go? Listen, literally nobody in Rhode Island has more experience with all these games and imaginations that go on. Where's the governor go next? How does she start to put together her commentary about why she's the best person to lead Rhode Island for the next 4 years?
So I think she starts where she started on Tuesday, which is with the 1,000 Days presentation. Now, folks panned it, the people who don't like the governor panned it as political, but in my day, we only had 2-year terms, so we only had a 730-day celebration. But now we've got 4-year terms, so we go to 1,000 days. And so what she does is and this is a role for electeds. As you know, you're a former elected, you've had both hats on. This is a role that the media doesn't have. So electeds don't have the watchdog role, but electeds are required to present some kind of vision, some kind of plan, some kind of agenda.
You can remember, I served on the city council opposite Buddy Cianci. If you don't think I had a watchdog role.
I totally understand.
That's
But in the executive branch.
Yeah,
you're
that's right.
But the point well taken.
Yeah.
So in the executive branch, so the governor.
So she's got to pivot to a message. This is what I'm going to do in the next 4 years. I'm going to make Rhode Island better because of ABC.
So I think the message already is Rhode Island is on the move, and she's got a number of statistics that would seem to indicate that that's the case. And so she needs to continue to produce in that vein, but also to deliver the message that that's what's happening.
So
and it's your job to hold it to account.
Right. Now, without a doubt, it's the highest number of employed Rhode Islanders. Now, whether they're the best jobs, Republicans will say, hey, 2/3 of the growth.
And that's
under
their
35.
role.
Right, absolutely. But she should be at 60% approval, right? She ought to be in the driver's seat for re-election. She's going to have $3 million at the end of this reporting period. She's going to have this, that, and the other thing. And they are sweating it out because of this disconnect between her and the voter. You get the call. You just got the call. They need you over there. What's the message for her?
So in my view, you've got two things going on. First, as you've discussed, in person, she's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so.
Does she just need to get out there, get away from these podiums, these contrived events, these, press conference, and go out and talk to these guys who are paving the road out here and say, hey, you know what? I'm so glad roadworks went through. I'm glad you're working. I hope you're happy. I hope your family's doing well. Is there anything else I can do for you? Is that what she needs to go do?
And I see that where she'll go to a school and she'll meet up with some girls who are coding, or she'll go to Coventry High School and she'll see the kids.
Not a lot of voters there.
Yeah, but you know what? In social media now, which she also touched on, which we haven't.
Yeah.
She understands that she can reach folks through that. And, if your son or daughter met the governor
It's a big deal.
At Coventry High School today, what are you going to do on Facebook and Twitter?
100%.
You're going to amplify.
And I don't care if you're a Republican and she's a Democrat or vice versa. It's a big deal when you meet a senator or a governor. Let's go to social media. Listen, we're all about social media here. We built this brand on email databases and social media, and we now can compete with anyone, right? We're broadcasting to 7 or 8 different social media accounts right now. Facebook's the smartest distribution system in the history of media, maybe in the history of business. Maybe too smart. Let's ask the Russians. She's right, but I got to tell you, she's got no game in social media, right? Yeah. They've got no game. She posts something and 400 people pile on and crush And then the person who supports her is petrified to put up a positive comment because 300 savages will jump on it, flying
Yeah.
elbows off the top rope.
That's a problem that I didn't have to deal with, thankfully, because I'm not sure how
Can you-
Bruce Sunderland and
can
Twitter
you
would
ima-
worked out.
Can you imagine
So I'm
Bruce
glad that
Sunderland-
I didn't have to deal with that.
Raccoon
Um,
pictures, the daughter. I mean, he had a lot of opportunity for social media.
Yeah, so let's count I'll count my blessings on that. Social media is tough, and I don't have any elected officials or candidates, and so that's a problem that I really don't have firsthand experience with. I do know that it does give people a chance to emote. I think also if you respond thoughtfully in a timely way to a question, you're probably not going to persuade the person who asked the question.
No one has ever won a debate
Right.
in social media.
But the audience there, as you know, is the third parties.
Absolutely.
Is the undecided.
Well, and I'll
who
also
look
tell
at
you
that
this.
and say, what
We'll
do I
have-
do with this?
We don't respond to people commenting specifically about something we wrote unless they don't have the facts correct of what the article reflects. Generally, we go and send them an individual message and say, hey, listen, take a look at this article again. This is what the factoid was. And I think the governor could do that. I mean, listen, John Chafee used to write 5, 10, 15 handwritten notes to Rhode Islanders every day. He used to call every Friday afternoon, just out of the letters, and randomly call people who wrote him letters. Imagine that. I don't
And you know what? You could still do that today.
You could 100% do that.
And in Rhode Island, I don't know if the return on the investment would be enough in a state like Pennsylvania or Ohio, but in Rhode Island,
100%.
absolutely.
Listen, I really appreciate you
Yeah,
coming
no
in.
worries.
I know
Thanks
you
for
had a
thinking of
busy
me.
day.
I really appreciate it.
And great perspective.
Yeah,
Hopefully
good.
we can get you on more often.
Call me earlier.
We'll
And
call
clean
you.
up Point Street, the traffic's good.
We will take care of that. And this road, we've only been on this street for 7 years. There's a rumor that they're actually even going to pave it.
Wow.
Yes,
We
that's
should-
progress.
Gonna have a parade.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks so
great,
much.
Josh.
Good to see you. I want to thank David Preston for coming on. Great perspective, wealth of knowledge.